I feel like once you find something that makes them laugh, you are like desperate. Beep beep in the car.
Really? You had a nice day with mommy? Oh, that's a cute noise.
Speech. Did you expect that? I find it so interesting how eyebrows can change the entire shape of your face. Proceed with caution. If you use this blush, it is like intense. Elf Camo Blush, liquid camo blush. We have a wedding to go to in a couple of weeks and I'm trying to find shoes. I fundamentally despise wearing heels. I don't find them comfortable. Anyways, I asked on Instagram for shoe recommendations that aren't heels or like formal events. People recommended some really cute ones. I added them to a highlight on my stories, but those, I'll just show you some of those. The ones I got are giving secretary in the worst possible way, so I need to return those and try to find something. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Y, and Z. Yay! Wanna touch it? Last night I was making her laugh by going over and over again. And so now I've been like probably overdoing that. And she's probably like, can you please stop that? But I feel like once you find something that makes them laugh, you are like desperate. Beep beep in the car. Nothing. Got nothing for you.
Really? You had a nice day with mommy? Oh, that's a cute noise. Oh, really? You went slower, yeah?
Good morning. I am not gonna lie, I am feeling very tired today. The last few nights we've had some really intense thunderstorms, and in addition to that, I feel like we're going through a little bit of a phase sleep-wise that is not necessarily great. I've heard the term sleep regression a lot and I'm hesitant to use that because it just sounds so like negative and makes me feel like kind of on edge. And in the same way, I have sort of avoided using Wonder Weeks. Jamie uses Wonder Weeks. I think that's what it's called. It like tracks different milestones and I think it's super interesting, but sometimes it will show like your baby's about to go through 5 weeks of fussiness, and it just sets me up for having kind of like a negative mindset or like a bit of dread going into the next 5 weeks, for example. And I also haven't always found it to be like 100% accurate to the phase that she's in. So it's kind of cool to know milestones and like different skills that she'll be building, but I try not to think too much on, you know, the fussiness and the regressions. And so we definitely are going through a bit of a phase sleep-wise that has been like a little bit tiring for me. I go in and out of phases, I think I mentioned this before, of like using Huckleberry just to help time naps, but I really don't like rely heavily on tracking whatsoever because I find that that stresses me out otherwise. Like I don't track feeding or anything like that, and I find like I haven't really needed to. Somehow the nap gods were on my side this morning because she went down so easily. I feel like usually for a nap it requires, you know, maybe like 20 plus minutes of feeding, rocking, shushing, that kind of thing. Whereas this morning it was literally just like I held her in my arms for probably a minute and then I just put her into the crib and she fell asleep. So that was actually much needed. And now I have a little bit of time in the morning to just kind of gather myself. I was doing a little bit of reading on the porch. She and I always sit out on the porch together in the morning. I feel like I probably saw this on a podcast or listened to this on a podcast, that it's good to get like natural light exposure in the morning, and that's good for sleep. And I feel like if it applies to adults, surely it applies to babies too. I don't know. We sit out on the porch every morning. I was reading this book, Blue Sisters. It's by Coco Malors. I think that's how you pronounce it. And she has another book that I read a few years ago called Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and I feel like I saw that cover, not this one, but the Cleopatra and Frankenstein cover, all over the internet. I think it was like a really popular book, and it was one of those ones where like I enjoyed it. I wouldn't necessarily like recommend it, and I wouldn't say that it like stands out in my head as one of the best things I've ever read. It was like one of those romances that was enjoyable, but I don't know, it didn't really like do a whole lot for me. This one I feel like has also been sort of overhyped. I think also I've read a couple of 5-star reads for me personally in the last few months, so I always like compare whenever that happens. Whenever I read something that I really like, the books after that I find it really hard to get into. There were a few books after I read All Fours by Miranda July, which for me was like a 5 out of 5. I was so obsessed with it. And there were a few books that I read after reading that one that I had such a hard time getting into, and I actually didn't finish a lot of them. Like I'd read maybe like 10% and I was like, I can't get into this. My standard is kind of that I'm just like hooked, and I feel like I don't want reading to be laborious or something that I dread or something that I just need to get through. So if I'm not enjoying it, it's like, what's the point?